for those that don't know me, my name is Florencia Librizzi. I'm head of program and partnership at the SDG Academy at SDSN. And as I said, I'm joined by Shannon Kobran, educational manager. And I also want to point out that our colleague Meredith Storey, educational manager, she wouldn't join today, but she has been a key contributor to this proposal and to this session. So I just want to make sure that you know that. And it is our real pleasure to join this wonderful event and many friends and colleagues in this community that I was able to, in the past, create many wonderful things like the chapter North America, and well, very glad now in a different capacity to bring you something that we believe that is of great value, which are the SDG Academy resources and communities. So these communities and resources that we're going to present to you today, we believe that they are very important for you not only to teach the SDGs, but also to support faculty development efforts. And with the ultimate purpose of being able to form the current and future managers and leaders that our world need to be able to tackle the most pressing issues of our time. In short, to be able to revamp and align our business education curricula to reflect the changes that we need in terms of research as well, and organizational practices and partnerships along and to advance the SDGs. So there are over 16,000 business schools around the world. And so how impactful would it be if we would be able to have all of the business schools from around the world to teach the real problems that we face daily, that really, as a global society, that encompasses so many issues from these public health issues like this pandemic to poverty, human rights issues, loss of biodiversity and climate change, inequality, good governance, anti-corruption, etc. So as Professor Hart mentioned, we need to make sure that this happens across the board and that we really go beyond the saddlebag. And as also other previous speakers had pointed out, these very complex interrelations really show us how business do not happen in a vacuum. And therefore, we need to teach those interrelations, including aspects such as social aspects, the environmental aspects, governance, and to really leverage and empower our students to be able to make the changes that we need in terms of creating a more just, inclusive, prosperous, as well as kind society towards each other and the environment. And this is the reason why we are here today. So our main goal is to introduce you these resources and communities that we have open and free for you, to present some different models of integration of how you can use them in your class. I'm sure you have many other ideas that we would like to hear from you as well. And thinking of how you can really leverage this transformative potential when it comes to teaching the SDGs in your classroom. And our hope is that you will feel empowered and excited after you leave this session. Before doing so, let me start very quickly to tell you a bit more of who we are. So in the next session, you will see that we're part of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And this wonderful institution was set up in 2012 under the auspices of the UN Secretary General to mobilize global scientific technological expertise to promote practical solutions for sustainable development. This includes the SDGs and the Paris Climate Agreement. So very quickly, because I can tell you each of the different 4 work streams that we have at SDSN could really devote a very long presentation, but just so you have an overarching team, and we're happy to connect you with our colleagues that can also support your work in many different ways. One of our work streams is the research and policy, which produces rigorous work on many different SDG related issues, covering from food and agriculture, land use, cities, SDG evaluating and monitoring, etc. So I'm pretty certain that you might have come across some of our flagship reports, like for instance, the World Happiness Report that you can see in the slide, perhaps the SDG Index. And then I like to highlight particularly the Accelerating Education for the SDGs in universities, which was launched in September during our International Conference for Sustainable Development. This is a wonderful report that was produced by the SDSN networks that comprise, this is another work stream of us, our networks. We are eminently an institution that connects with the regional and national key actors with over 1,300 global universities. And they have put together this wonderful report and guide with leading it from the Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific network to support higher education into implementing the SDGs. So if we, I would like to also mention very quickly that we have SDSN Youth, which is also a remarkable initiative, which I think is very unique and important, that is a youth initiative led by youth. And they're really doing wonderful work in terms of enabling and really mobilizing young people for the SDGs. Finally, and last but not least, the SDG Academy, we are working, we create and curate high quality content to teach the SDGs everywhere. And we do it in an open and with an open and free model. You're going to hear more about this in a few minutes. And our approach merges the best scientific knowledge available with global and local perspectives, and with a pedagogical approach to really make it, it's quite high quality content, and with a pedagogy that really is appealing to the learner, whether it's a learner, individual learner anywhere in the world, or is part of the university and formal education setting. And we leverage technology to reach a critical global mass. So as of now, we have 150 or more than 150 stellar faculty from all over the world that teach our courses, as well as around 580,000 learners from all over the world, from 193 countries. So I'm also proud to say that during COVID times, that we know that how difficult has impacted education around the world, we were able to bring just a grant of support here, like our seed of support by being able to provide this content, and we have seen a spike of 3.2 times more learners approaching us. But anything that we do, really, and this is the next slide, it comes with strong collaboration and partnership. Well, I cannot tell you how much our work reflects the strong work of our team, which it works tirelessly, but also of so many partners from all over the world, whether are faculty, whether are wonderful institutions like the ones that you see here. Nothing that we do it of ourselves. So this really is the type of collaborations and partnerships that SDG 17 calls for. And I'm proud to say that these are some of our great partners that work very closely with us. So now, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Shannon Kobran, so she can present you with the SDG Academy resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Florencia, and welcome everyone. It's great to have you all here. I will try to be brief but comprehensive as I go through the resources that we would like to share with you. The first being our SDG Academy Library, which is our searchable content library of over 1,300 video lectures, case studies, recordings of webinars, just all sorts of these high quality educational assets that speak about different aspects of the SDGs and of sustainable development, and that over time we've learned are really useful assets for educators who want to incorporate these lessons and these topics into their work, and maybe do so with a little bit more interest with these engaging videos rather than a static reading. And then after that, I want to give you a little look into our MOOCs, our massive open online courses. I think now we have 32 that we've produced over the past 6 years. on the SDGs in general, the frameworks, the implementation, or on specific aspects within the SDGs, food and agriculture, climate science, or things that are a little bit more interdisciplinary, like technology and the SDGs and how that can be used to further sustainable development. They're all hosted on edX.org, which is one of the world's largest online learning platforms with about, last I checked, something like 32 million registered users. It went up during the pandemic. And so those are all available for learners or of any sort to learn about the SDGs. So first, I'm going to show you our SDG Academy Library, and if you'll bear with me while I switch over. Can you all see the SDG Academy Library? So this is our SDG Academy Library. It's our private YouTube for the SDGs. So this contains videos from all of the courses that we've produced. What we realized was that they were great in the course and in the course structure, but they were really also useful as standalone resources. So we wanted to create this place, this searchable repository, where anyone, whether a learner or someone who wanted to use the videos, incorporate them into other workshops or lessons, could come and search for the content they needed and have access to individual videos. So you'll see you can search. We have most of our resources are in English. We've started recently acquiring some resources in Spanish as well. You can search by lecturer. If you want to hear from a specific person, you can search by SDG. If you know our work, you know the course that you're interested in finding a video from, you can search by series. So these are all the courses and a couple extra series as well that we've produced. Or what I think will be most useful for people in this audience is to search by subject. And since we're here for Prime, I will show you what we have under business and management. And before I get into that, just know you can also do a keyword search up here for any particular topic, and that'll search through the transcript, the titles, and various metadata within the videos to help you find what you need. So, sorry, I have too many things up on my screen, apologies. So if we go into business and management, so these are all of the resources that we have from across all of our courses that deal with various aspects of business and management. So you can scroll through and sort of see what we have available. It's not as, it's just a matter of what's been tagged that way, but it's a great place to start if you're looking for resources for a class or workshop. And I'd like to spend a couple of minutes actually showing you a little bit of one of our resources, a small clip, to help you get a sense of the pace and the style and what you can have to look forward to. So this is a record for one of the videos itself. Every video, or most every video, has at least an English language transcript. Some of them have other languages as well, if that's useful to you. You can find more information about the course here, and then you can share or even embed any video if you're using like a learning management system like Canva or Moodle to really make this part of your own learning experience. So let me show you real briefly. We'll look at a clip.
Several motivations for ESG investing. One is the idea that it will enhance returns because it is a measure of the coherence of a company's performance with the SDGs that gives evidence that the company is on the right track in the right kind of market, that it's in an activity, production process, provider of goods and services along the lines of environmental and social soundness. And so the theory is that ESG investing is just good old financial investing in large part because ESG helps to provide indicators that the so-called portfolio companies, the ones that are receiving the funds from the pools of money, are in fact aligned with global objectives. There's a second motivation for ESG investing, that it is a kind of risk management tool. If you look at an oil company that is drilling for more oil or gas and it gets a very low score on an ESG evaluation, that is a risk warning to an investor because maybe on the surface it looks like it's a profitable perhaps not socially desirable, yet profitable investment by the oil company. But the discrepancy between what that company is doing and what the ESG score shows is a warning sign that the company's activities are at risk because regulation, tax policy, carbon pricing, consumer resistance down the road could jeopardize that company's activities. So in this sense, one can view ESG criteria in a risk management lens. Of course, there's a third dimension of ESG investing, and that is that it's the right thing to do. That investors should have a moral purpose, that people saving for their retirement want to have their saving for retirement also directed in ways that are going to create the kind of world that they want to retire in. So the broader priorities and interests of the ultimate beneficiaries and stakeholders of these money funds. That's certainly the case for those investing endowments of universities or endowments of churches and religious organizations as well, that people want to do the right thing. They know it's the right thing for the world. There may be some small financial loss by diverting investments from something profitable, but not ESG, to ESG criteria.
So I want to stop there. It's hard to cut off Professor Sachs, but I wanted to show, that's a video from our course, How to Achieve the SDGs. And this obviously is his video on investor activism. And he kind of delves deep into ESG investing and the role that plays in financing different sustainable development projects. So I wanted to show you that so you can get a sense of the type of pedagogy that's built into the videos. Also, you know, how engaging they can be. It depends on the instructor, but Professor Sachs is one of our best, and he does many videos for us on all sorts of topics. I should also note that the videos tend to be around 8 to 10 minutes long is where we like to have our videos. And that's what we aim for when we work with our faculty. And that's really the best way to convey a good chunk of information without getting people to tune out. And then just one last thing here, you'll notice that every video, there's an algorithm that shows you related videos based on all the metadata. So if you're looking for different types of content in a related field, this is a great way to get some suggestions of other videos you might want to use. So from there, let me head back to my slides. Sorry, again, too many windows. So now I want to show you a little bit of a deep dive into the courses themselves, our SDG Academy MOOCs. So can you all see this page here? SDG Academy X. Awesome. So as I've said before, our courses are all hosted on edX.org, which is one of the world's largest online learning platforms. So if you come to us, we are SDG Academy X, everything on edX is an X. You will be able to find all of the courses that we've produced that are available to take right now. So I want to show you a little bit of one of my favorite courses, which is Tech for Good. That's our course on technology in the SDGs. So you'd click the course, it would bring you to this enrollment page here. You can learn a little bit about what the course is about. What subjects is it related to, roughly how long should it take if you're doing it on a regular basis, the syllabus, some of the key faculty. So that's all here before you even enroll, and you can also watch the trailer. Once you get into the course, you'll see it's sort of organized. We organize our courses into what we call modules, and we think of each module as about a week's worth of content. So if you were to assign one of these courses to your students or recommend it to a student and wanted to work sort of alongside a more traditional academic schedule, you could think of each module as 1 week's lesson or 1 week's worth of content. Every one of our courses is structured a little differently in terms of what's included in each course, but at minimum, you're going to find video lectures like the one we just watched. and then some sort of reading material, at least a little bit of required reading, possibly a reading quiz, possibly additional resources beyond the required readings, and discussion prompts. And they could be really open-ended just to get people to respond to what they learned that week, or they can be really targeted. Some of our courses also include an interactive activity that gets people familiar with a tool and has them play around with some sort of tool outside of the course environment. So I want to take a quick look at this module here, which is on artificial intelligence. So you can see, you'd go into the course, and this is, all the video lectures are here. There's also assessments. So this course has open-ended, or not open-ended, but ungraded assessments, true, false, comprehension questions, multiple choice questions that follow each lesson, each video, so people can judge how well they've learned the material. The courses also have graded elements, so like final exams or more robust quizzes. So you'd watch the video, and just like in the library, they have transcripts here, transcripts available in additional languages, and you can download any of this as well. And then I wanted to show you an example of the types of activities that we put into these courses. Again, it's getting people familiar with a tool or having them play around with something outside of the sort of framework of the lectures themselves. In this case, this encourages students to go visit the MIT Moral Machine Project, which is something that was developed by the MIT Media Lab. And it's a bit of a game or interactive tool where people have to basically do the trolley problem. And they're supposed to be learning about the kinds of decisions that go into algorithms for something like a self-driving car or other AI, where they have to make decisions with moral consequences and potentially deadly consequences. So if you're a self-driving car and you're in a situation where you either run over one elderly person or 5 children, an algorithm has to be able to make some sort of determination. And the point here, and the point that's emphasized in the lecture, is that technology is not neutral. Like, a human being has to program these decisions. And so there is actually a moral component to that. And it's worth thinking about. So that's the whole lesson here. And so what we've done is kind of craft a lesson around that, saying visit this resource, learn a little bit about the project, and then go through it yourself and think about what have you learned by having to make these moral judgments, and think about that. And then finally, this course and many of our other courses involve anywhere from a couple of extra resources to this course has a lot of extra resources. So if you're looking for readings, current events, these have a lot of TED Talks, other prizes and tools that are related to the subject matter. This is also a great way to find more resources, is actually digging into the courses themselves. So now I'm going to jump back again to our slides. And before we move on, we want to talk a little bit about how can we use these resources in a classroom? What are the different ways that we encourage everyone to use these resources? But some of the ways that people in the past have used them. But before we move on, I want to take a quick second to ask if anyone has any sort of technical questions about the videos in the library, about the MOOCs themselves, anything about that before we move on to sort of like, how do I use these? And I can just take a look at the chat.
Hi, there was a question. What is the process you go through to control quality in the library?
So almost everything in the library is something we ourselves have produced at this point. So these are, like I said, all videos that come through our courses. In addition to that, we've been working on sort of a more thorough curation strategy. We want to start curating material from other creators. So there's a couple quality elements that we put into that curation strategy. One is it visually appealing? Is it something that people will want to watch? Is it pedagogically sound? It doesn't have to be, is it designed for a learning audience as opposed to more of an entertainment audience? And is it a good length? Is it the kind of length that we are looking for in terms of the 8 to 10 minute range, as opposed to like an hour-long lecture? There's some flexibility on all of that, but we're really trying to find a greater range of material, both in terms of subject matter, so subjects that we maybe aren't currently covering as well as we could, or language. We would love to start accumulating more resources in non-English languages, because the majority of our resources are in English.
Right.
But yeah.
There was another question. I know you don't have textbooks per se, but Maria Diamanti is going to be hopefully teaching 2 courses next semester. One is in human rights law and the other is in social responsibility and law. Do you have anything in that domain?
Absolutely. So human rights is currently we have a course on human rights, human wrongs is the name of the course. It's taught by 2 professors at Middlesex School of Law in the UK. And it is currently one of our most popular courses, and all of the videos from that course are also in the library. So, and they take a legal perspective on a lot of that material. So if you are looking for, I don't know, a video to sort of introduce some concepts or discuss certain aspects of human rights, and use that to build off of, build your own lessons off of that, or present maybe a separate perspective or to your students that they can use in debate and discussion, definitely take a look at our library. So the course is called Human Rights, Human Wrongs. You can find it in the library by searching under, by series. You can also search for human rights in the by subject category. So you'll find it, I think it's under global studies, but it's in that, or you can just use the search term human rights and then it'll bring up everything. But that's really what's great about the library, is if there's a specific subject like that you're looking for, play around with the library, look through the search function or use the search bar and see if there's anything there that both adheres to the subject matter that you want to teach, but is also a perspective that you want to share with your students, either as a supporting, or maybe you can as sort of an alternate perspective for debate.
Right.
That sort of gets into oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, can you handle a couple more questions?
Sure. I said that's a good segue. So we'll save that for a second, but then we can get into a little bit more of those examples in our next segment. But please go ahead.
Is it free to use the library?
Absolutely. So I should have said that too. The library, yes, the library and the courses are all available for free. So the library, absolutely available for free. Go at it.
Okay. Next question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The courses, just to be transparent, the courses are free. Anyone can enroll and pursue the course for free, watch the videos, get the readings, participate in the discussions. The only thing is edX does offer certificates for successfully completing a course, but those require an upgrade. So if you want access to the certificate at the end, you just have to upgrade and pay a fee.
Okay, another question. Is there any content suggested that would be AACSB approved in terms of course development content?
Florencia, I think you will have a better answer to that question.
So we have a close collaboration and dialogue with AACSB. We haven't gotten to that yet. We do have a formal partnership with EFMD that has looked at the content and has promoted widely, and they're proud supporters of the SDG Academy because they really believe that this is content that absolutely support the constituency into advancing the SDGs into the curriculum. But more to report later on. Happy to hear your thoughts of what do you think would be most helpful in terms of perhaps making the case in your own organization of how to use our content and what type of collaborations you would like to see. So, and as you know, as Dilip actually is saying, in the chat, it's not that AACSB necessarily will approve as a stamp seal on the courses, but it would be more, I think, like an informal endorsement, like EFMD has done already, in a way by partnering directly with us and supporting, the dissemination of our content.
I could jump in there too, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. As probably the only member of both someone who's gone through the AACSB approval process and the SDG Academy course catalog, there is so many resources that are available here that can support exactly what Florencia was saying. Like as you go through your own mapping process and you need to have the evidence of teaching, there's more than enough evidence here. So just as you're building that map, just remember it as the evidence portion, not necessarily something that's been pre-approved.
Okay, another question was, how would we integrate material from the MOOCs into existing courses that we teach?
Sure. Perhaps that's a great way to segue into this next section, because I want to get into that, and we certainly have more time for questions afterwards. I just wanted to get a lot of the technical questions out of the way.
Sorry, Shannon. Maybe just quickly, like Meredith was able to join for a couple of minutes. She's there, so everyone can get to know our colleague Meredith Storey.
Well, thanks guys. Thanks for letting me join, and thanks for the administrator for approving the video there. My name's Meredith. I'm an education manager with the SDG Academy as well, just like Shannon is. I unfortunately am in a bit of a compromised position right now as far as good Wi-Fi and good time management goes for being on this call. So thank you for letting me participate. I could certainly go through the next couple of slides, Shannon, if you'd like.
Oh, go for it, yeah.
Perfect. So a lot of this relates back. I've been monitoring the chat as we've been going through, and I saw a few questions come through just before this about how can this be integrated into the classroom setting. And that's really what we want to get into in these next few layers. So there's that simple, the medium, and the complex ways that you can do this. So we are experts in knowing what materials that we have and understanding how the pedagogy of these tools has been built out, but we're not experts in whatever specific module you might be teaching yourself. So what we would like to do here is just, now that you know what these resources are, take a step back and say, here's a few ways that we can hold your hand through the process of integration to hopefully make it easier. So Shannon, if you could go to the simple ways first. Just the videos and the ways of kind of inspiring students from a very entry-level way. So getting their feet wet with the subjects of sustainable development. As you saw in the Jeff Sachs video that we played at the start, they're very high quality, they're very thoughtfully done. Like the pace is slow enough that it allows you to critically reflect. And it's not something that was just thrown together. So if you want to use these to integrate before a class so that students have an opportunity to think about something that maybe they wouldn't have been thinking of in the traditional curriculum. Or if you'd like to use the videos in class to start delving more discussion-based items within your class. Or if you'd like to take some of the MOOC quiz questions or use them as open-ended dialogue points in order to move the needle from just your traditional discussions on what is sustainable development to what does SDG 7 have to do with anything that we're learning in this class? So to build out those themes in a more meaningful way, but just really to start the conversation, that's your simple integration tactics. The medium content that's shown here, and these are just suggestions again, the sky's the limit as far as this stuff goes. Show that video as a preface for a more in-depth lecture that you could then tease out with your traditional pedagogy. Assigning videos as homework in place of former readings. So to say not just to have them as a once-off to introduce the subject, but to really make students critically examine their own philosophies on these subjects. Bringing these ideas to life through activities. Maybe you show a video and then you ask your students to do stakeholder mapping or to map it back to the traditional curriculum and see how it fits with pre-existing readings and things like that. Allowing the learners to self-select videos on things that are interested in them. As you saw when Shannon was going through in the examples that she's been mentioning all along, as far as human rights, human wrongs, the data that we saw earlier, we have climate courses, we have early childhood development courses, we have economics, we have the future of work. Like this, there's so many diverse subjects that are here. So allowing students to self-select things that they might be interested in is another way to go, rather than saying you must learn about the introduction of sustainable development or the end of the MDGs and the start of the SDGs. No, instead let them go ahead with the subjects that interest them the most. And then also something that you're probably already doing based on the interdisciplinary nature of it, what it is that we do, collaborating with other instructors, either within your business school or within your department or across and throughout these networks in order to develop stronger links and interconnections, just with our content kind of in the back of your mind. And then that kind of harder piece for that complex integration. And we've seen this successfully done in a few programs already. There's the University of Delaware does this with an environmental program. There's a number of examples of the ways courses have inspired coursework elsewhere, but to create entirely new programs using the resources or as a jumping off point for new programs, using a completion or customized SDG Academy course as a prerequisite. So making them show up and say, you're going to take climate action, you're going to learn the impact of mankind on climate change, and then we're going to talk about what it is that we're doing in our business practices that corrupt the environment, like having a more science-based, evidence-based start to that conversation. or even having a blended learning model that just you steal the MOOC content for yourself. It's freely available. So if it's there, you may as well use it. And going to the next slide, I think that when I was thinking about this, I've taught in a business school, my PhD's in social accounting and business education for sustainable development. And I've worked a little bit with Prime. The SIPs were a part of my thesis there at the end. So I really like the work that's been done in business schools. I think that the evidence-based approach and the way that I see you all have been reporting on these subjects over time just shows that there is an innate want to integrate the subject in curriculum. The thing that we all keep coming back to is the barriers to that process. So some of the things that I wanted to outline here just on the integration of for your context is just to bear in mind what barriers there might be to this integration and some of the things that the SDG Academy can help with. And we're here for questions, we're here for anything like that you might need as far as a networking perspective goes. But as far as the resources themselves go, it's freely available. There's no budget or administrative need that you need to come steal these resources. Just go ahead and get these lessons to your students. That's the critically most important part. The fact that they're interdisciplinary, the fact that you don't need to be teaching macroeconomics in order to use the videos from macroeconomics for a sustainable planet, that you can borrow themes and borrow subjects and develop your own content as you go. And the fact that they're high quality, like you can trust the content that's there. Those are just kind of easy wins straight off the bat. So you're already doing things and you're already looking for more ways to integrate content in your own context. So just to keep those items in mind moving forward. Yep. I'm happy to stay on and be a background voice for this, Shannon, but it might be best if you moderate for the open discussion part.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you could join, Meredith. We do want to get back to questions now, and thank you all for holding when we moved on. I think there have been a lot of questions coming in. So we want to encourage everyone to think about the work that you're already doing, how these resources might be useful to you. If you have any questions about the resources themselves, if you have questions about the way that we've worked with different university partners and educators in the past and some examples from our work there. So feel free to write in the chat, or we can figure out a way to get questions from anyone, but we're really happy to think a little bit about what you're interested in and how you can envision using these resources in your teaching.
There's actually a question. Someone asked if it's possible to invite someone, or if someone from the SDG Academy can come to a school to do a presentation for staff members.
Probably not in person, not right now, but I think, yeah, please. I think we're always happy to introduce our materials to more people and help share these ideas about making your work more enhanced with these materials. So please feel free to reach out to us if that's something you'd be interested in. We can talk further about how we can best accommodate a request like that. We can make sure we have our email address in the chat before we all leave.
Someone wants to know if you'll share your slides, which we plan to post on the website along with the recording. So as a PDF, is that okay?
Yeah, we can send those to you, Gina.
Okay, great. And then there was a question about the intersection between this and Prime, Integration Blueprint, and Global Compact Academy.
Let's see. Florencia, do you want to jump in there?
Absolutely. Well, as you know, Prime was created in 2007. I actually contributed from the inside out, as you might know. Like I work almost 7 years there, so it's a community that is close to my heart. And the SDG Academy has been working on content creation. So I feel like they're all initiatives that are in the space, that they're very much complementary, and you should go to all of them and take what you need. The SDG Academy in particular was born in 2014. So we have a long trajectory in creating content and then community as well. And we're going to talk about our community as well. But I think there are many different initiatives in the space. Also, HESI, Higher Education for Sustainability Initiative, that we're co-chairing at the SDG Academy. You know, like I feel like each initiative had their own DNA and their own space that is very valuable. And you, you know, have the opportunity to see how best they all can serve you and take what is most helpful for your. I feel like the blueprint is a helpful document. We also have this guide, the Accelerating Sustainable Development in Higher Education Institutions. So I think they're really a lot of resources. And maybe just to say, this SDSN guide that I just mentioned, Accelerating SDGs in the higher education space, they also list PRIME as one of the other initiatives, acknowledging their resources and their value as well. So I don't know if that helps in terms of the question, or if there are any follow-up.
Great. Dilip is asking, how often do you add content like new videos?
It kind of depends on when we have, like I said, they're all from courses, or many of them are from courses. So as we create new courses, we do a couple a year. We will add those videos to the library. And as I said before, we're trying to have more curation of other people's resources along the lines of what we were discussing and within a specific strategy. But it's not on any specific time frame, but there's 1,300 videos in there right now. So hopefully that'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah, maybe to add to what Shannon's just said, which is correct. We launched the SDG Academy Library over a year ago. So, you know, it has only a year, and we have seen the spike of how like really people see the value of accessing the content with a different format. And just as Meredith was saying, what are the possibilities of integrating that content into the class? We are in the midst also, we're in a pilot process at the moment of another initiative that is very, I think, promising, which is the Spotlights. And we're aiming to curate from our community, from the community of practice that we're going to talk in a minute, but also from our wider community of SDSN with over 1,300 higher education institutions from around the world. These 8-minute videos in which our members speak about something, whether it's a teaching project, whether it's a research project, or like something in campus or student initiative that is worth sharing. So that would be also another additional content that we're planning to add into our SDG Academy library. And as well as what Shannon said, we're looking at curating great content, very rigorous content that we can also incorporate in this SDG Academy library. And having said that, just to give you a sense, every year, as Shannon said, it changes how many MOOCs we have or how much resource we add. But for instance, this year we included leadership for the SDGs course, the sustainable work with the ILO, monitoring the SDGs, as well as, I don't remember sometimes the titles I have to say, like fresh, transboundary water, like Meredith, you will know exactly the title, but on water and the SDGs. Go ahead.
So there are many courses, most of the courses that we have either in edX or the videos from those courses in the library are things that we ourselves have produced. There's sort of a core group of courses that we initiated, we found the faculty, we wrote the syllabi. But increasingly we are working with partners. And so people from different groups come to us with an idea for a course. They may even have some of their lecturers on board already. And then we've worked with them to create a course, and then we host it on their behalf. So one of those was the one that Florencia mentioned. I think the full title is Governance for Transboundary Freshwater Security. And so that was brought to us by the Global Water Partnership and a couple other organizations focused on governing transboundary waterways and what that means in terms of government's environment, social justice. And so we have that course that was brought in from an outside partner that we work with them to host on our website. We have a couple more of those. And then we're also looking to do more video series that are independent of a course. So the course has been the sort of generative source of all of our videos for many years. But now that we have the library and we have, it's been going strong for about a year now, we're trying to think of other ways we can share different types of learning experiences that are not sort of confined to the course environment. So for instance, we have a wonderful 11 video series on big progressive transformations in societies and institutions, basically the biggest kind of rethink of how we can reshape society and all the institutions that govern it, with a political philosopher called Roberto Mungabera Unger. And so that's the name of that series is Freedom Now, and you can find that in the library. But that's something that doesn't exist in a course. It's something that we created and went straight to the library.
Fantastic. It sounds like that relates to this John Bunch's question or comment. This affects how other faculty who are less informed see sustainability and limit its scope, often just to environmental issues. What do we do about that issue? Or what is your, what are your comments on that?
This is a question I get very fired up about. So, I mean, I'm sure many people here feel exactly the same way, and we say many, many times, especially for people who aren't familiar with the SDGs already, that the SDGs and sustainable development are, it's a interdisciplinary framework. It applies to everything. And I think all you need is a little creativity to be able to apply the framework of the SDGs, or if you don't like the SDGs specifically, certainly the lessons and overall thought behind the idea of sustainable development as a field, you can apply that to anything. So what we've been doing a lot of, actually, we had several events over the course of the UNGA where we were discussing the importance of interdisciplinary approaches to the SDGs and trying to convince as many people as possible that yes, this material is relevant to you. And if you want to see a better world, then you're going to have to think about the ways that this framework and these lessons apply to the work that you're already doing. The SDGs don't create new problems. They just describe issues that are already going on, in a way that's easy to look at and understand and measure.
Another great idea from John Bunch. I would tie the goals into the new business roundtable statement of the purpose of business. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah. Yes, we have plans for also a business and the SDGs MOOC, depending on funding, and we're working on that. But we hope that we're going to have also more resources, particularly here for business. Although, as Shannon said, all of this content can absolutely be used in business. One thing I wanted to say about the questions before, in terms of convincing others, and this is something that I heard so much over my tenure of almost 7 years with Prime, but also here at the SDG Academy, we hear oftentimes faculty that they're frustrated because they feel like their peers are not in tune with integrating sustainability and sustainable development in their curricula, or deans that don't hear, or the other way around, deans that they're very much proactive and they feel like it's difficult to translate this and to really get everyone on the same page, which it happens, with human relations, but also with complex and system thinking, etc. So our community of practice that maybe Shannon, maybe it's a good time to present the practice. We believe that is also another space for you to have this type of conversations and support from other peers and from the SDG Academy as well. So we had for the last 4 years a program that was called University Partnership Programs, in which we were working closely at the SDG Academy with the different universities into integrating this content in existing or new programs. That has evolved really as we learned how valuable was really the expertise of the groups, and how not only was very helpful to have this two-way conversation with the SDG Academy and the higher education institutions, but also more circular with the whole group. So we have launched this year the community of practice that brings together not only higher education this time, but also civil society and businesses who are engaging in as peers, and also with us to create content, but also to disseminate our content, to exchange good practices, and also we look forward to documenting these good practices, publishing, etc. So I think this is another community that is close, that we're putting together. We're trying to find the right balance between communicating our goals and what we would like to see in this very promising community, but also hearing and really having the community really be driven by the different members based on their interests, based on what they need, etc., etc. We have actually quite a nice group already. We have 32 participants at the moment from 26 countries, and we have 2 tiers at the moment. So basically, just to reiterate, any learner can really access our content and be part of the community, and they are already. But then there's 2 more active components of this interaction, which are the members and the partnerships. Partnerships are those that they're working very closely with the SDG Academy in specific projects of how to integrate this content, and they receive our direct support on those projects. But we have also members that are also working among with the community with these 3, I'll say, key aspects, which is sharing good practices, documenting the good practices, disseminating our content, and as well as co-creating in the future content. And we see this as a wonderful opportunity to bring more diversity to our content and hear different voices from this valuable community.
And I think something we've learned even in the couple of months since we launched this program is that, especially when it comes to convincing your colleagues that the SDGs and sustainable development is relative to them, you are absolutely not alone. We've spoken with educators, from every discipline, and this is something that comes across a lot, particularly when we're speaking with, heads of offices of sustainability or people who are part of a university sustainability kind of core group, and they say, well, we get it, but we keep trying to get other people to get it, and they don't understand why they should go out of their way to incorporate this material into their lessons. They have certain metrics they have to hit, or they have the same curriculum, the same syllabus that they've been teaching for years. And so one of the things that we've seen that's a big interest to members of our community of practice, and that we'd like to sort of explore and tease out further is, well, how do you advocate for the SDGs in a university setting where people are maybe have other things on their mind and aren't necessarily willing to make some of these changes? And I think that's hopefully where that like simple integration that Meredith mentioned in terms of our resources can come in handy, which is to say, you don't have to rewrite your syllabus. You don't have to rewrite everything that you're doing for your business class or your history class, or even an art class, but you could use the ideas of social justice, environmental protection, economic equality, use those as jumping off points or as ideas around which you can formulate the things that you are already teaching. And then our resources can help you set the stage for that. I also want to say I dropped a couple links in the chat. One is a link to our community of practice page where you can learn a little bit more about that program, and also the link to apply. And also a link to a blog post that is a summary of the event that we hosted back in September on interdisciplinary approaches to teaching the SDGs. You can learn a little bit more about the conversation we had there.
Great. Linda Wendling had a wonderful comment about, I like to think about how each SDG can be used to satisfy the others. Quality education unlocks gender equality, etc. Each SDG has a domino effect on the others, and the relationships between them are so critical. We kind of opened the conference with that concept of synergy and collaboration and building on each other. So if you have any comments on that and how you're integrating across the SDGs.
Yeah, I think that, again, it's that interdisciplinary, interconnected element of what sustainable development is at its core, and what the SDGs, they're only broken down into 17 goals because it makes it easier to figure out what you're supposed to do. But in the end, gender applies to all of them. Education is relevant to all of them. Partnership is relevant to all of them. You can't have a clean environment unless you deal with the energy crisis. You can't have sustainable economic growth unless you also deal with social and environmental problems. Like they're all interconnected. And so I think that our pedagogy and the way that we built our courses and the individual videos tries to reflect that as much as possible. The video might be on low emission solutions, but for the energy crisis, and that's sort of the core focus of that lesson. But there should be some elements in there or in the course in general of, well, what does that mean for advancing social justice? Why, it's a technological, it's a techie kind of subject about what are the technological and business ramifications of the low energy transition, or the low emissions transition. There we go. But what else can that contribute to in terms of justice and equality and protection? So I think that's something that we try to incorporate and try to think about within each lesson, and then certainly is reflected across the range of material that we have. And I think the library is probably the best place to explore that.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Shannon, just in reference to the library there. So since you can choose based on which SDGs you want to teach or which thematic content you'd like to go to, just because you're not teaching a poverty course doesn't mean you can't start there with that thematic drop down and use your own creativity and critical lens to build that into whatever classroom you need to.
Yeah.
Maybe one more comment that I had as I was hearing my colleagues speaking about that. The idea of being inclusive and interdisciplinary, it really applies to the why, the what, and the how. And I wanted to say that because sometimes we hear about, for instance, integrating youth and how youth is, should be front and center in the SDGs. And then we see the youth being integrated as a topic of discussion. And it should not be just that, it should be like youth having a seat on the table. The same with all of this, we had to be inclusive, in the why, the what, and the how. And that also reminded me of like the principle for responsible management education, and the fact that we not only need to teach research, but also apply it in our own organizations. Be accountable and be responsible for our own practices. Because as I remember, one great SUB report that I read a few years ago was pointing out how our students are learning through the formal education, meaning our curricula, but also the informal education, meaning what do they see in campus, what are the practices in campus, students' activities, and also subliminally, meaning what are our own policies and practices, how are we teaching, how are we treating our employees, what type of governance we have, are we being inclusive, etc. So I think that's also a call for us to be really holistic and take responsibility for ourselves, that we can always improve and get better at whatever we do.
I think that's a great opportunity. I'm going to put this in the chat as well, to encourage you to look at some of the programs of SDSN Youth, which Florencia mentioned at the top of the hour here. So SDSN Youth is another branch of the SDSN family and all the work that we do, but they run a bunch of really impressive programs that mobilize youth to be active in the SDGs. And one that might be particularly interesting for your students in a university context is the SDSN or SDG Students Program. And you can find that on the website I put there. And that's really this idea of you create essentially student SDG clubs on campus. They call them SDG student hubs, where there are designated student coordinators, and their job is basically to get out the importance of the SDGs on campus, and get other students aware of these, and then mobilize the student body to take on projects either within the campus or the wider community that support SDG related topics and initiatives. There's a couple other programs that would be relevant to students too, but I think that's probably the most relevant. I think we have a little bit, no, maybe like 1 minute.
Per minute. I just want to say you guys did a phenomenal job, and I'm thrilled to be able to share this incredible resource, which is just amazing how much progress you've made in 1 year. And I'm eager to work with a lot of these and integrate them in my courses. I also want to remind everybody, if you could fill out there's a one star thing where you put 5 stars if you really like the session on the Entity app after each session. So if you could be sure to give some feedback for this session as well as the others. Everybody is really enjoying this session. It was fabulous. Thank you so much. Any final words you want to say before we close?
Thank you so much, Ina. I mean, it's always wonderful to work with you and Rutgers, and thanks to my wonderful colleagues, Shannon and Meredith, as well as everyone in the audience. We want to really work closely with you. So here's just a few ideas of how you can get involved, from following in social media to getting more in touch through our website, our newsletter, join the community of practice, use our resources, use them, circulate and share with others. And truly appreciative of all of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Please reach out to us if you have any questions.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. Really appreciate it.